Turkey, who frankly sees the Kurds fighting here as far from their friend, in fact terrorists in some eyes, have in fact allowed Peshmerga, more Kurdish fighters through their territory, to enter that city of Kobani and assist the fight for it.
In the battle to subdue and perhaps even one day overcome the phony Islamic State known as ISIS, America cannot do it alone. There are key Middle Eastern countries that need to wake up and get in the fight. Turkey comes to immediate mind, and lo and behold, they've finally gotten a dose of intelligence, or maybe fear. Let's dig in with some real intelligence. Welcome back, former CIA intelligence officer and our master of all things that go on behind the scenes. Lisa Ruth joins us once again. Always a pleasure.
It's good to be here.
I'm going to talk about that, but I want to work off that soundbite that we just saw here. We're talking about dropping an awful lot of weapons and food and other supplies into the area where the fighting is going on. Lo and behold, I have to use that phrase again. Here we go. What a shock. They're now falling into the hands of the ISIS fighters. Did we not get something right, or is this just part of war?
Part of war. It's part of the war here. You know, certainly keep in mind, this can't be shocking to anybody. This is why we didn't arm the moderate Syrian rebels way back, a year ago, 2 years ago. This is not surprising at all. It is a little bit concerning, the fact that we're dropping all these things in, including weapons, including supplies, and that not only is ISIS controlling it, but that they're actually now charging fees also for the supplies to go through.
That's the point, too. This is winding up on the black market. This is also becoming part of the profit margin that ISIS is now gathering, correct?
That is absolutely correct. But we also have to keep in mind, ISIS is different than any other group we've seen here. Remember, they're running this like a state. This is their country as far as they're concerned. Well-oiled machine, I don't know about that exactly, but they have set up roadblocks. This is just another way to make money, and they are doing it very, very well. They are outmaneuvering us, frankly, at every turn, whether it's in terms of getting their financing, controlling territory, or now even getting weapons.
Wait a minute, hang on a second. How can they outmaneuver the single greatest power on the face of the planet, some people will say? Because aren't we supposed to have control of these things, or at least know what's going on? So what you're saying, it completely flies in the face of everything we've been led to believe that our intelligence community and our government is able to do.
I'm going to go back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago. My colleagues tell me Syria, Iraq, the term they use is a black box in terms of intelligence. We are operating, maybe not completely blind, but with one eye very much covered. And I don't think we really know what's going on. Think about an airdrop. We're airdropping these packages into a territory. How targeted can that be? Just in itself, how targeted can that be? Now, we are with the Peshmerga fighters, we are having better intelligence than we've had in the past because they're working with us. But even that, the situation is changing very, very quickly. It's not static. And this is a concern, but it's something that I don't think the United States really knows what it's doing. We do not have a good strategy. I repeat myself every week here. We don't have an overall strategy. We're now going in with these pinpricks, and it's not enough. It's not working.
How are things going to change now? It appears, at least, that Turkey is starting to come around to our way of thinking and perhaps the proper way of thinking. They're opening the border a little bit now to try and at least make things easier in the fight for Kobani. But is it really making any difference?
Turkey, in my opinion, is doing a very, very delicate dance here. Because at the same time as they're saying they're allowing Kurdish fighters to come across Turkey. Now, last week they had said they were going to let the U.S. use air bases. They then retracted that. They're not letting the U.S. use Turkish air bases. They came out and said, we are going to let the Turkish fighters come across. At the same time, if you read the domestic press in Turkey, it's blasting the Kurdish fighters. Very strong rhetoric, very anti-PKK rhetoric. They're going this fine line here. I think they had to come in and do something. There was a lot of pressure from NATO, from the U.S., but this is this much. I mean, this is not a humongous development. It changes. It does change dramatically.
A little. You're right,
It does change, but it's not enormous.
Because what we're talking about here is they're letting the Kurds cross the border into Syria, but Turkey has its own Kurds who apparently don't get along with the Kurds that are now crossing the border. So we have basically the same sect, if you will, in many ways, but they just don't like each other. So they're polluting their own Kurds, if you will.
Right. And Turkey bombed their own Kurds last week. They launched airstrikes on their own Kurds last week here. So, what is the division? It's very, very delicate, very tricky.
And the Turks have never done the Kurds any favor whatsoever, and they never will.
That's correct.
They never will. Let's just get right there and put it out on the table. All right. After the break with Lisa Ruth, signs perhaps of growing ISIS desperation, why India better get involved sooner rather than later. And later on this hour, seeking intelligence on the Sunday News Talking Head programs. I realize, of course, that using the word intelligence in line of what happens on Sunday is sometimes just the wrong verbiage, but we still will try to make it all happen. And we continue right here on MidPoint.